central bank digital currencies. All of the shitty lack of accountability and infinite money printing of fiat combined with terrifying technological fascism.
That is where we are going, and that is where the powers that be are pushing us.
You know my views on CBDCs, and you know that I have pushed that project.
Central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that.
And as we were told in a publication by the World Economic Forum, headed by Klaus Schwab, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And, Schwab added, we see science banishing forever unemployment, hunger, and insecurity of income. We see science replacing an economy of scarcity with an economy of abundance. Actually, those last two quotes aren't attributable to Schwab. They're from a pamphlet printed in 1933 by Technocracy, Inc.
Technocracy in today's modern world is the singular most important concept that people have missed and also that people need to get a hold of.
What is technocracy? What does it mean?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I suppose it's a word that's been around for a long time, but really what we're talking about is a society which is more and more controlled by the technology that supposedly liberates it. I would suggest that we're pretty much there already, or we're certainly on the brink of it. I mean, if you look at who holds much of the financial power, much of the economic power.
The development and rollout of CBDCs is just the latest iteration of this perspective. Let's take a step back to better understand how we got here. On the heels of the so-called war to end all wars, a seed was planted in the minds of some men. Those men, engineers and scientists, believed that they could do away with problems that plagued humanity, that they could more efficiently allocate scarce resources, that they could better manage the world. This is called technocracy, what some have likened to dictatorship with degrees. The forward-facing traction of the technocracy movement reached its zenith in the early 1930s, in the midst of the Great Depression. The Committee on Technocracy was established at Columbia University, and Technocracy Inc. boasted over 500,000 paid members with chapters across the Americas. They advocated for a technate, a self-sustaining geographical unit of North America, Central America, and the northern portion of South America. They advocated for a shortened work week and, rather than use existing mediums of exchange, suggested energy credits. Members did outreach via events, parades, and yes, decades before the Blues Brothers, via vehicle-mounted megaphones. The public technocratic movement of that era was not shy about critiquing democracy. I think it's fair to say that that stance, which was at loggerheads with the successful rhetoric of "make the world safe for democracy," coined by Edward Bernays, caused overt public support of technocracy to atrophy. In fact, leaders of the technocracy movement in the USSA were called to testify, and in Canada, the organization was outlawed and some of its members arrested, including the grandfather of Elon Musk, former director Joshua Norman Haldeman. But technocrat adherents did not go away, they merely went behind the scenes. Many were involved in the creation of non-governmental organizations, which ultimately came to wield much influence. And, having learned from the past, rather than attack democracy, they now pay lip service. As Bernays wrote in 1928, those who manipulate the unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. Well, here we are, almost a century later, and the ideas of technocracy are not constrained by political boundaries. Hence why virtually all central banks in the world belong to the Bank for International Settlements and are working towards interoperable CBDCs.
We see all of the genesis of these ideas back in the original technocracy documents. The problem is they did not have the technology at the time to do what they wanted to do, and I think they knew that. It was just an idea, the idea of utopia, that they felt that technology eventually would bail them out. It didn't happen maybe quite as fast as they thought, but here we are today, and we see these things being implemented today almost in lockstep with the original document.
It makes no difference whether technocrats are driven by goodwill or by malevolent intent. Their ultimate aim is to control. Now we are armed with this knowledge, with this historical perspective. We need not act out of fear, but with confidence, knowing that our work is timely and is important. We need to act with purpose to deliver a product, a medium of exchange that works. In doing so, we will create a tool, a technology, that we and our neighbors can use to peacefully pivot away from the prison planet so long constructed by technocrats. We will be empowered, and we will flourish.